If you email your customers and your prospects, you're giving them information with which they can make a valued decision to purchase, to follow, or to participate in an incentive that you may be offering them. They obviously have the choice not to do that, but most consumers would rather have the opportunity so they don't miss out. And so we really benefited from additional purchases and additional customer retention in year one. But in year two, we realized the value and the importance of email marketing.
Welcome to the Winning with Shopify podcast. This is the podcast to help you scale your Shopify store into a money-making machine. Email has the highest ROI of all marketing channels. Are you maximizing its potential and growing your list? Drive conversions and create more connections with Seguno, the top-rated email marketing platform built exclusively for Shopify. Seguno is offering Winning with Shopify listeners an extended free trial, plus a complimentary strategy session with an email marketing expert. Visit seguno.com/winningwithshopify to claim your offer. Now, over to your host, Nick Truman.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Winning with Shopify podcast. For anyone who's not tuned in before, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you tuning in. If you're tuning into our YouTube channel for the first time, apologies. My guest and I, we've been clicking buttons for the last 30 minutes. We cannot get the video to work. So apologies, it's audio only today. If you're listening on Apple, iTunes or Spotify or something else, you won't even notice the difference. So it's business as usual for all of you guys. And if you've been tuning in for a while, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you listening to the show. For anyone that's been listening to the last few weeks, we've been talking about email with our lovely partners there at Seguno, who've also offered to send me a few items of swag. So as soon as they arrive with their branding on, I will be wearing those on a couple of future episodes as well. So stay tuned for that. If you've not tuned in before, you've not listened to the last few episodes, listen to this one first, but then make sure you go back and check those out as well. Because we've been talking about email and talking to different merchants and also talking to some of the guys from Seguno about every time you guys make a sale or get a new subscriber, how can we do more with those guys? As well as something else we're going to talk about today as well is growing that list, getting more people involved. I'm delighted to be joined by a fellow Brit, someone from the UK who's joining us today. His name's Jonnie, and he runs a business called Toasted. So Jonnie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Nick, and it's a pleasure to be here.
It's lovely to have you with us. And as we do with all of our guests, Jonnie, give us a quick overview of yourself, your backgrounds, how you got into all of this, and then also tell us a little bit as well about the business Toasted.
Okay, no problem. So I'm Jonnie, as you've introduced. I've got a background in sales and marketing. I've been a marketing director for a number of years, probably 25 to 30 years marketing experience, developing and managing brands across the UK in snacking, chilled food, soft drinks, ambient food and drink. And at some point, I woke up one day and said, I'd like to start my own business. Now, whether that was 1 year ago, 5 years ago, or 20 years ago, there was always a hunger there to do it. As I'm sure many of your subscribers and listeners to this podcast are probably in the same position. And so when the opportunity arose, it was time to do a bit of research. Because I've been a corporate marketeer for many years, you could argue that it's a little bit dull. I wanted to do something that was a bit more fun, something that was a bit more challenging and engaging and would allow me to be a bit more creative. I also started the business, which many people don't know, with my daughter. So it truly is a small family business.
Nice.
Now, my daughter's 18. She's just done her A-levels and she's interested in design and marketing and will go to university at some point. But the next 12 months on our journey, she's going to help me a lot more and roll her sleeves up and get stuck into the next stage and phase of our growth. So what is Toasted? So Toasted is a brand of marshmallow toast and dip kits. And it's all about fun. It's about being adventurous. It's about the enjoyment of toasting marshmallows and making s'mores with your family and about toasting together. Our business and the idea really started probably just before lockdown in probably the summer of 2019. I knew I wanted to start a business, and so we were fortunate enough to go on a road trip around California. Now, during that trip, we went to a place called Mammoth Lakes, and we discovered and witnessed families toasting marshmallows and making s'mores by the campfire in the classic American tradition. And that brought back memories of when I went to Camp America when I was at university many, many years ago. And ever since that first experience, we've really, as a family, enjoyed the benefits and, if you like, the enjoyment of toasting marshmallows on beaches, campfires, whenever we went away for the weekend or on holidays. And it almost become a bit of a ritual and a tradition. And we would add things to it like chocolate and sprinkles, and we would really kind of like savor the moment. And the idea really came about as a result of that trip to America. And when I started to look at the market, it became obvious that in the UK, as a family audience, we weren't really doing much in the way of marshmallows. And if we did, you could buy a bag of marshmallows from the supermarket, but you'd have to go and set a campfire up. You'd use them after a barbecue, and it wasn't very practical or convenient. And there wasn't really a solution for a portable kit. And that's where Toasted started. And so really, we provide everything you need in a kit that you can enjoy toasting marshmallows indoors or outdoors or wherever the adventure takes you.
Amazing. And I mean, there's a few points I'm going to pick up on that just before we dive into email and list growth and that kind of stuff. I mean, firstly, starting a business with your daughter, I've heard a lot of, husband and wife couples doing stuff or best friends from school, that kind of thing. Doing something with your daughter is fascinating. And especially she's so young as well. This must be incredible experience for her to be doing something so advanced that actually only a lot of people her age could probably only dream of. I imagine it's both life experience coupled with, as you say, the kind of design, sales and marketing side of things as well.
Correct, Nick. It's a mixture of all of those. I think she's always been quite entrepreneurial. And because of my background of marketing, branding, TV advertising, and all of those, if you like, sexy elements to the marketing sphere, she's always played an interest and been really curious about why we do things and how it works. And so the opportunity arose that to give her almost a learning and a kind of like a show and tell exposure to developing a business from scratch. Now, I'd never done that before. I've managed brands. I've created brands. I've worked with big brands, household names. But when you actually create a brand for yourself, it's a little bit different because you're making key decisions that will affect the livelihood of yourself, not just the business or the shareholders or the company structure that you work for, but also a family business is even more kind of like dynamic because, as you say, I'm allowing my daughter to contribute, to shape, to get involved. And over the next 12 months, she'll start to play a stronger part in the business, which is great. And it should be a really good opportunity for her as she then follows her career to university.
Nice. And I think it's, as I say, it's such a good experience for her, but also I think it's such a unique experience. Like there's no one else who is part of like development or taking a sort of gap year before university is going to get a chance to get so hands-on, as you say, which I think is really exciting. So yeah, I mean, best of luck with it. It sounds like an amazing adventure you guys are on.
Well, I think the word adventure, Nick, is right because, father and daughter relationships can be a little bit stressful and a little bit awkward. If I say it's black, she says it's grey, and then we've kind of got to meet in the middle, but that's compromise.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess that applies to anything, doesn't it? Whether I'm as a boss talking to an employee and they've got a different opinion to me, right the way through to business partners to, family members. I think we all need to compromise, and it's all about hearing each other out, isn't it? You've got to listen to their point of view, consider it and decide, what is the best way for me to respond to this? Do I stick to my guns on it, or actually do I say, okay, I hear what you're saying, let's try it, let's go with it, see what happens?
Correct. And I think any manager or director will tell you that you're only as good as the team you've got. You might have lots of ideas, but you've really got to bring those people with you, and you've got to get them to contribute and take ownership of the decisions, because it's not just a single person kind of like decision-making format. As a self-employed individual, it might be, but if you're expanding the business, you've got to listen to ideas and contributions from everyone else. So that's really relevant for what we do today.
Absolutely. And that leads me on nicely then in terms of expanding the personnel. Let's talk about subscribers then. So email subscribers. And obviously these are all humans. And how do you guys go about actually generating subscribers and getting more people to subscribe to your email campaigns?
Okay, so this is really interesting because as a marketeer, classically trained, I've always seen the value, in my yesteryear of it was direct mail, shall we say, in the 80s, 90s and noughties. And that's been further enhanced by the power and importance, if you like, of email marketing. So from day one in our business, we knew that email marketing was going to be integral to what we did. And so from day one, we've always focused on growing the subscriber list. And in the early days, and we've really gone on a journey, Nick, in the last 3 years. In year one, which was the start, we really acquired subscribers through Shopify. So if there was a customer came onto our site and they filled out their name and address, they automatically went into our customer list. Nice. If we had a customer that purchased, they obviously went into that subscriber list. In the early days, we kind of made a couple of classic errors. We had an auto opt-out on subscriber lists because that at the time was the done thing, but that's now come back to bite us on the bum. And I'll tell you why. So when a customer has ordered in the early days, so in maybe when we launched September, August in 2020, if they'd ordered, they automatically were opted out unless they opted into email marketing. Now, they may have not seen that and they never considered it. But after about 6 months, you realize that you've lost an opportunity because we've got a very loyal customer base and we've nurtured and developed the subscribers that we've got. So much so that our repeat purchase rates are anywhere between 20 and 25% up to 40 to 50%, depending on whatever campaign we're running at any one time. And in the early days, we've missed out because all of those original subscribers and customers that didn't tick the box to say, yes, we'll receive email marketing, we can no longer engage with those. And so that's one of those little lessons and one of those bits of advice that I always tell anyone that's new into email marketing. Always, if you can, opt in, because you're giving them the opportunity to opt out, and then they won't miss out on any educational, information, promotional incentives that you're going to send those. And that's one of the key lessons that I think we learned very early on. In addition to that, we were also advertising quite heavily at the start on Facebook and Instagram. And when people see your ads, they automatically come to your site and they automatically subscribe. We really didn't push that. And so we didn't really have an incentive on the website to acquire those subscribers. And so our list was growing. It was growing organically, and it was growing at a level that we were comfortable with because we were busy prioritizing other areas of the business, i.e., how do we get new customers? How do we go and try and make new products as we grow so we can sell more products to the same customers? But what I would say is that the subscribers that we had in those early days, we really worked and milked. And I don't mean that in a negative term because it works both ways. If you email your customers and your prospects, you're giving them information with which they can make a valued decision to purchase, to follow, or to participate in an incentive that you may be offering them. They obviously have the choice not to do that, but most consumers would rather have the opportunity so they don't miss out. And so we really benefited from additional purchases and additional customer retention in year one. But in year two, we realized the value and the importance of email marketing. And so we tried to change it and we mixed it up a little bit. What we realized was we didn't push on the website when people landed, here, look, subscribe. And so we started to play around with the Shopify site so we would enhance the focus and priority given to the subscriber section. So we would flag it and wave it, and we'd start to introduce pop-ups. And that really started to boost our subscriber numbers, which was really beneficial. But if I'm brutally honest, in this last 6 to 12 months, it's been, I'd probably say, a game changer. Because as we've grown and developed and learned, we've really focused on that email subscriber list. And what we've done to really accelerate the acquisition is we've offered incentives along the lines of 3 products when you subscribe and with your first order. Or we've offered a discount on the back of subscribing, which is a classic, if you like, tool to get that first order, to get the prospect across the line to become a customer, but to also incentivize them by giving them a discount for subscribing.
Nice, nice. You've gone through my next 8 questions, which is fantastic,
Sorry,
Jonnie.
Nick.
No, it's absolutely fine, because now I'm going to ask you 8 other questions.
Okay, fine.
We're going to get some more out of you. So I'm going to jump back to a couple of bits, though, that I think were really, really key. Now, something, I don't know if it's just terminology or if you guys view it this way, which is why I want to ask the question is, right at the start, you said about gaining your first few customers that subscribe to your newsletters. And you used the word customer even when you mentioned the ones that hadn't purchased. Is that part of a policy for you guys then? Do you see anyone that puts their email address in as like almost like a kind of, these are already customers because they bought stuff, and these guys, they are customers, just not quite yet, or they haven't quite purchased yet, but we still consider them all, they're all part of the family?
Do you know what, Nick? It's a really great question. And I think I'm probably the opposite of what you've just said. And I'll tell you why.
Okay. Cool.
I'll tell you why, because if you use Shopify, which we all do, Shopify will group together prospects and actual customers and link them in your customer portfolio. Yep. And so if someone comes onto your website and they, add a product to the basket and they go all the way through to the checkout, but they don't obviously purchase, that's still classed as a customer in Shopify's eyes. Now, for me, I would class them as a prospect because a customer is someone who's actually converted and that has a potential lifetime value that's already started that journey. A prospect, obviously, is anyone that is potentially interested in your brand. They've subscribed for an incentive or they've subscribed for a specific reason to maybe learn and hear about your products in more detail. And I really differentiate by segmenting those customers and prospects and targeting them with specific email kind of like approaches that are more specific to their needs and how I've segmented them.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think I'm kind of glad you said that, because you're absolutely right. And I think from a business point of view, as someone who runs a business, I'm not going to classify somebody as a client or a customer if they've not paid me money yet. And I think and as you just described, we want to treat those guys differently. So I guess a lead on question to that then is, when you say specific campaign specific things, is that where you actually say, okay, you've added these 5 products to cart and you didn't check out, so we're going to do what a lot of people call abandoned basket emails and start hitting you guys? Are you going to specifically talk about, like, half the content's going to be those 5 products or very related to those 5 products? The rest of the content's, well, maybe you didn't want those 5, so here's some other stuff. How specific do you get with it? And how do you actually execute that? How do you make that happen so what they receive is related to what they, what you know about them, basically?
Again, a very good question, because the way I look at it and the way I guess the market works, particularly with Seguno and particularly with any other kind of like platforms that anyone would use, they kind of differentiate between 2 baskets. You've got, on the left-hand side, you've got those that have almost reached your checkout. And so there's a series of automations that will be applicable to those prospects. And those automations might be abandoned cart and a series of abandoned cart emails. And most of the practitioners and the industry experts and even the first-hand operators like myself would probably say to you, the automations are highly valuable, because what it does is it allows you to communicate and engage with that prospect more than once. And if you set your automations up correctly, and maybe it's within an hour, maybe it's within 24 hours, and maybe it's within 48 hours, at some point, those 3 emails will do 1 or 3 things. They're probably, 1, going to convert immediately. 2, they're going to get that particular prospect to maybe have another look at your products. And 3, they're going to get that customer to go, no, I'm not interested, and just kind of like park it for the time being. And the whole idea with the automation is to make it simple and easy. But for me as a business owner, it's like gold, because if you can automate and you can push that customer in a nice sequence across the line, if it's incentivized, and if it's not, it makes no difference, because the end goal is there. It's about conversion. Then it's fantastic. On the other side of it, you've obviously got your customers stroke prospects that you are going to, if it's a customers who already ordered, we might be nurturing for about long-term customer value optimization. And we might want maybe to push them, in my instance, from 1 purchase to 2 or 3. Or from 3 to 4 or 5. Or if it's the prospect, it's about getting them to convert that 1 time. So they may have had several abandoned carts, they may have opened several emails, but they might not quite got across the line. So I target those differently with a number of different things. Mm-hmm. And it might be that it's a giveaway. It might be it's a repetition of a social piece of activity on our channels that we're replicating on our email. Or it might be a specific dedicated, I suppose, email campaign to a certain group of individuals that have opened my email 7 times, I've added to cart 3 times, but have never converted.
Absolutely. And I love that you give some examples. That was going to be one of my questions later as well, which is good. It was saying, like, what can you actually put in an email? And the example I often give on this is a bit like a relationship, isn't it? And I think with the abandoned basket, because you say, like, okay, they don't purchase, so we send them an abandoned basket email, as we call it. But it says, like, oh, your basket's still here, you haven't bought yet, what's stopping you? And these are 5, green ticks saying, like, our guarantee, our warranty, how quickly our delivery is. Something to reassure you, like, actually, you should come back and purchase. But after that, again, like a relationship, like, do you really want to be in a relationship where someone's ready to give up after the first conversation because we've not done what you want? It's like, no, you work on these things and you keep building that relationship with your customers. So I love those examples of saying, whether it's a giveaway, some social content, or any of the other things you've listed, that actually these are good ways to get people to engage with your brand. And I guess what you're doing is you're almost wanting to kind of balance these 2 things in my mind. And you might say there's way more than 2 as well, which would be great to get your thoughts on this. But I feel like you're trying to balance kind of entertaining people so that they don't want to not receive your emails anymore. There's got to be that entertainment factor of, I love getting these emails from these guys. They're useful, they're informative, or they just make me laugh. They're just entertaining or whatever. But you've got to balance that with, actually, at some point, we do need to say, please come buy my stuff. So Yeah, I guess a really good question is, how do you balance that when you're actually designing an email or a sequence or putting email content into each stages of the email sequence that they're going to receive?
And again, another great question, Nick. And I think that exposes a number of mini questions within one big question. So I think what I would say is you've got to be very careful first and foremost, because I'm only a small business and I've got a relatively small subscriber list. The classic textbook of email marketing will tell you that you need to test, A/B test.
Yep.
But if you've only got a certain pool of prospects stroke consumers and you're only going to send out,
can you?
You can't, because you're going to just pee them off, because they're going to be getting multiple different emails just to test whether this image is better than that image. Now, you're not going to send those two emails to the same customer. I get that. But if you've only got, make up the numbers, 10,000 subscribers, how many test emails do you send before you realize, well, actually, that was a waste of time. I now have to park that segment and I can't really send anything similar to that for at least another 1, 2, 3 weeks. Because it's duplication, and that's where you get your, turn off, your unsubscribes. And I think you've got to be very careful. I think there's a word that you used in your questioning there, which was about the entertainment. And I think people, particularly on email marketing, we've got to be very careful, because we are following in the shadows of the social, if you like, channels. And people go onto the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, and they want to be entertained. They want to be visually stimulated by all this lovely imagery. And then you've got to try and take all of that and put it into an email. And also you've got to have a little bit of salesmanship about it, whether it's your copy, your headline, your body text, and then how much copy is too much copy, and then how many images you put on there. And I think, if I'm honest, one of the great things about Seguno that we've kind of like experienced over this last 18 months is they will quite happily flag that your email is getting too big. And that's quite a good signpost. And when I look at it as an expert marketer, I go, well, that's not right. I don't agree with that. And when you look at it again, you go, wait a minute, I've got 4 images. I've got maybe 5 paragraphs of text. Yeah, okay, that's a bit heavy. And I think that's one of the great things about Seguno. Even that little flag at the top of the email as you're crafting it to say this is getting a bit long, it's kind of like a wake-up call. And I think, to answer your question, you want to be short, you want to be sharp, and you want to be on the point. And I think if you can get 1 or 2, 3 key images, and you can get a really strong headline that's attention grabbing, that's going to help with, first of all, your open, your click rates. And then it's going to help them then go through to where you want them to go, which is to your site and to convert. Because not many people will open an email and on the second click, it's add to basket and they've bought straight away. It's like anything. There is this journey mentality that you need to accept and understand as you craft those emails.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact you've outlined that, because one of the biggest questions we've had when we talk about email, and we do series on email from time to time on the podcast, because it's so important. You know, your email database is the reason you do Shopify instead of Amazon, in my opinion. Amazon, you can't control the customer. But I love the fact you've actually just outlined that, do you know what? A/B testing is great and all the experts will tell you to do it. I think it's a fantastic quote from you. But actually, if your list is too small, you don't have time for that, because you can't, by the time you've learned something, well, what have you learned? The only thing I would add on to what I think is a brilliant point you've made, and this is becoming one of my catchphrases, I might actually get printed on a t-shirt, is that marketing has been lost from digital marketing. Yes. It's one of the biggest challenges I see across so many brands. And you've just outlined, actually, if we come up with some good imagery and a killer headline, people are going to come and buy from us. And in my opinion, it'd be good to find out from you as well what you guys do on the ground on this. But my opinion is that to have a killer headline and have a killer set of images, you need to be like, it might just look really simple on the actual execution, but you need to be really, really key on, I'm emailing these people. The message I'm giving them is so on point. It's the right time of day. It's the right product. I know they're interested. I know they've bought from us before and they've gone a bit quiet. So I'm giving them something I know is going to be hyper relevant. Well, that's marketing. Marketing is getting the right thing in front of the right person in the right format at the right time. Then they'll buy. I say then they'll buy, maybe over several different visits to the website, as you've outlined. But I think that marketing bit, I think, is unbelievably important. And certainly where I've seen people trip up on email is where they're just sending emails for the sake of it. And they go like, oh, this is a good bit of software that will dynamically put products in an email. Well, great. But if your products are rubbish, you've already lost. You know,
I can't agree more, Nick.
Yeah, I'm being brutal with it. But so how do you guys come up with those marketing things? Like, how have you developed that over time? That kind of message?
Well, I think there's a couple of points there. The first is I echo entirely what you said about the skill of marketing has almost been lost. And I think if you look at the generation, and if I take my daughter as an example, who's 18, 19, she sees TikTok, she sees Snapchat, she sees Instagram, and it's all easy because these influencers are out there and these people are using these creative phones and all of the different techniques. But you don't have the skill or the knowledge or the understanding to really focus on what's the objective, who is the customer, why am I on point with this message, how can I move my customer along the journey, what is the journey in their eyes, because not every customer journey is the same. And I think I'm lucky because I've got this background of marketing. Not every small business owner has had that. They might have worked in a shop. They might have done other things. A chartered surveyor who's moving into selling kombucha. I don't know. And and it's one of those dreams, and everyone's entitled to follow the dreams, but you need to understand that these are marketing skills, and it's specific skills that are required for email marketing. And I think what I try to do is I try to do probably three things. I try to be creative because I know that when I follow a number of email subscribe lists, I see the different types of emails that come into my inbox. And if I could give any of the listeners to this podcast a tip, is to go out and maximize the amount of businesses that you follow and subscribe to their newsletters from a whole breadth of different businesses and different sectors, because you will get to see the trends and how it's working in email marketing, the good, the bad, the indifferent. And I think what I try to do after being creative is to be topical. And so I link my email marketing very clearly and specifically to my social marketing. And if there's a topic or a trend that is ongoing in the world, I quickly jump on it. So if I was to give you an example, and this is maybe not this summer, but we go back to last year when we had lots of storms. Now, you're in Britain just like I am, and we remember maybe Storm Eunice and there was Storm Franklin. And
we do love naming a storm, don't we?
Oh, it's terrible. But if I'm honest, it's creative and you can latch onto it as a marketeer. Because what we were able to do is we were able to very swiftly offer some promotional incentives on our websites. And so it might have been Eunice 15 for a 15% discount code. But then we took that Eunice 15 and then we used it in an email marketing campaign. And then about 4 days later, we changed it up and we went to Franklin 15 because that was the new storm on the ground.
Yeah, nice.
Even by just changing the topical elements of what's in the news, it suddenly became, that's not a problem, by dropping an additional email into my inbox because it's topical and it's relevant. And it set us out and apart from any potential competitors. And in email marketing, everyone's a competitor, not just in your immediate space, i.e., we do toasted marshmallows. It's not about confectionery competitors. It might be Marks and Spencer's, who are, a big family clothing brand and business in the UK. Anyone vying for that person's attention in the inbox is a potential competitor. And it's about how do you stand out from them and how do you make them click with interest and open that email and then carry them through that consumer journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the third thing then?
The third thing is utilizing, we've been very fortunate, user-generated content. And this is a big trend in kind of digital marketing. There's lots of companies that have sprung up that are, the conduit between influencers and brand owners to try and get more content, whether it's TikTok-based or Instagram. And I think as a family business, we've been very fortunate from day one to have a lot of really good content self-generated by users and customers. And they've allowed us to use that, whether it's in real format or it's in static imagery and some great photography. And because our product is about adventure, be it indoor, outdoor, and family focused, we've been able to utilize some bloody brilliant content. And we can then take that and craft it and make it relevant to, our social channels, but more importantly, our email.
I love the fact that I had a quick look at your site before we organised to do this recording. And I had a look at your site and I love the fact that as soon as you land on it, the first thing I'm hit with is not like, here's a bag of marshmallows. It's like, it's the lifestyle, it's the experience. I don't know if this is common in the US, but certainly in the UK, there's the whole features tell, benefits sell. And I love the fact that you guys lead so much with the marketing side of how this product's going to make you feel, how it's going to make, where you could use it, what you're going to use it for. And then as soon as you see the first image, you're like, I love marshmallows. That's an amazing, incredible landscape that this person's in right now. They're obviously out camping somewhere. This is awesome. And it always makes you want to go camping. And you're like, hang on a minute, how did I get from marshmallows? But that's marketing. That's good marketing. And it's good marketing with a message and with a voice.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because as I alluded to before, I'm like classic old school marketing, where it is about emotional connection. And I am a salesman as well as I'm a marketeer. And I've always found it a bit of a great to be kind of like both. But on this instance, where we've really gone to town on the new, if you like, site, it is all about emotional. It's about placement. It's about taking the consumer to where we want them to be and how we want them to feel. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can get that in the first 1, 2, 3 seconds when they land on that website, then your job is half done, because suddenly they're in the right frame of mind. All you've got to do then is show them the product, and you've got to substantiate it with credible quality reviews and all those other bits of kind of like traction that you need to help them shape that decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to jump back as well to the making it topical, your second point. I think it's a really, really good point. And the first thing I was thinking actually is Einstein's theory of insanity. They're doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I think we often talk about, certainly when we're doing Google advertising on Google Shopping or pay-per-click stuff, we often sort of say that like there's macro stuff we can do and there's micro stuff we can do. And the micro is like tweaking this keyword. And, if you're expecting to like change a CPC bid or how much you're bidding for a click, or you want to change this one line of text and this one advert and you're expecting like your ROI to double, well, think again. The macro stuff we start to look at is going, okay, so we're sending 20,000 people a month into this site through ads across multiple channels. But, like you could look at it and go, wow, we've got a conversion rate of 3%. That's really healthy. You could also look at it and go, we're missing out on 97% of the people that we've paid to bring to the site. And I remember a client saying that years ago to me and immediately thought, you've nailed it. No one's ever put it in those words to me, but it's what about the 97? Like there's 97 lost sheep now, to quote the scriptures. If there's 97 out of every 100 people not doing anything, how do we appeal to those guys? And I'm going to link this right the way back now to something you said right up at the start when we started talking about, whether we call them customers pre-purchase or not. You mentioned pop-ups as well. And actually, I think email done well means you're getting people subscribing. So actually those 97% of people or 98% of people that aren't converting, i.e. they're not buying a product on that first visit. So as far as Google ads are concerned and my agency's concerned, we're going, well, they didn't do what we wanted them to. But what if another 5 or 6 of those people subscribed to email and then 2 or 3 of them bought later on? Yeah. Well, now our conversion rate's not 3% anymore, is it? It's 5, it's 6%. It's double.
Correct.
We've just had to wait a bit longer and do a bit more work on email, but it gives us something to graft at, which is the email side of stuff.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that then comes back to the definition of advertising, i.e., I advertise today, I get a result. However, the advert I advertise today has got someone on the ladder and they're on step 1. And in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, they then become a customer. At what point and which advert helped them along the way?
Yes.
And it's really difficult to distill. And when you see a lot of the, industry experts and they're kind of like, scientifically probing, the black, the white of how it is relevant for advertising to convert, is you've got to have a gut feel. And I think there is an element of being scientific and highly numerate, but there's also a gut feel element to it. And I think if you've got a gut feel for the adverts work, they're converting, and I know it's bringing in more broader halo awareness of my brand that is helping me move them at some point further down the consumer journey, your advertising should have more than one objective. It shouldn't just be to convert.
Yeah. I guess it's on your definition of conversion as well, isn't it? Because in the old, rest in peace, Google Analytics, Universal. But in the old days, the conversion was whatever you set. So you'd have one conversion set up for a purchase, one set up for somebody that subscribes to a newsletter. Now, what we used to do in our live dashboard reports, and we still do a very similar thing on GA4, it's all just change the names to conversion instead of goal, for example. But we split them to say, okay, all the PPC activity has helped contribute to this much direct revenue, this much multi-channel, which is what you're talking about, where PPC might have started the journey, but actually it was a Facebook ad, or worst case scenario, they come in direct at the end of their journey with a fresh cookie in their browser, and you just got a report going, it was direct. And now you're
Yeah.
like, well, do I pull money from Google and Facebook? But if I do that, I'm going to get less direct at some point.
Yeah.
It really is a juggling act, and everyone's in the same boat. And I think certainly with things like global inflation so high at the moment, people are considering their purchases more and more and more. So I think it's important to keep an eye on and look at the kind of like sub metrics, isn't it? You've got to look at like engagement with the site and go, well, look, these people didn't purchase, but 5% of them sign up to my newsletters. Okay, I'm going to change the pop-up, change the banner, change the message. And, you know, a lot of people give incentives to sign up. So you could say, right, I'm going to give them 10% discount if they sign up. If they don't purchase in their first 2 weeks, I'm going to up that to 15%, but only for a day. And you can start to work on little things. Because once you get them over the line, you've now started the process of building a habit of keep coming back and keep buying, which I think leads us in nicely actually to talk about retention here. So what do you guys do on the retention side then? You've got some customers in, or let's say Google ads and Facebook ads are working really, really well. You've got loads of new customers coming in, but they're only buying once. What do you guys do to make sure you retain them as customers? And the key there being retained customers as opposed to just keeping them subscribed to an email list.
Yeah, good differentiation between the two as well. I think for us as a small business, customer retention is key. I think there are a couple of points. First is email marketing is so important to a small business because as much as we talk about PPC and about standard kind of like display ads and all the rest of it, you pay to get that acquisition of a customer. If you get someone to subscribe to your newsletter and you haven't actually paid for them to subscribe to that newsletter, at the point that they then convert to become a customer, it's so highly profitable and valuable. And if they purchase once, it's great. But if they purchase twice or 3 times or 4 times and become a brand advocate, well, that's the halo. That's what we all aspire to have, 100% advocates. And, you know, no brand will ever get there. However, that's got to be utopia. And for us, when I've tracked my business over the last 3 years, in year 1, because it comes back to a couple of points really, Nick, that I think we just need to just maybe revisit. First is you've got to have a really solid product. Any product or brand that you're developing or taking to market and selling it on Shopify and hopefully using Saguna for your email marketing is you've got to have a really good product that you are proud, want to sell, but 2, the customers will come back and buy and use again and again. And I think that's really important and really key because you can sell anything once. But it's the repeat purchase that really builds a brand and builds a business. And so for us at the outset in year 1, our repeat purchase rate across the board was probably about 8 to 10%, which I was quite happy with. It was a new brand. It was in the first year. But then when we got to year 2, it changed considerably. We then were tracking at 15 to 18%. And when we looked at it, it's because we'd upped our ante on email marketing and we'd focused a bit more on the loyalty, the retention, the development and the nurturing of getting that customer who'd ordered once to order twice, 3 times or more. Nice. And the tools and techniques and tactics that we've used in that year 2 / year 3 has been ostensibly we give customers maybe a bigger discount, a bigger incentive over and above what we will advertise at on our Facebook or Instagram ads, or indeed any promotional coupons or mechanisms we'll have live at our site on Shopify at any one point in time. So, for example, we might have a promotion on today on our website that says 10% off X, whereas we might have an email campaign that rewards those subscribers who've ordered once or twice. It's maybe 15%. So they'll get an added incentive. And then we will target them and focus on the people that have ordered 3 or 4 times. Or 5 or 6 times, because we've got tranches of customers that are we class as almost VIPs.
Yep.
We have some customers like the old Pareto's principle. 20% of our customers have ordered more than 3 times, but within that 20%, we've got maybe 8% have ordered 5 or 6 times, which is quite a lot of money for us. You're talking about a customer value, and this is only within its infancy of maybe being live for maybe 12 months. They've spent over £200, which is a lot of money given it's marshmallows and it's a toast and dip kit where the average value is £15 to £20. And where we've been able to then add an extra layer to the email marketing is because we offer complimentary gift notes, we will then take the orders that have had gift notes and we will segment those within our email list to identify those that have utilized a gifting opportunity. And then what we do is we'll then look to exploit that. And so what we're working with Saguna on at the moment, and this is one of the other benefits that Saguna have given us, is that they've helped us, if you like, off the page. So the customer support team are brilliant. So if we've got a query and we can't work it out ourselves on the kind of like tools and templates, they're kind of like in the back office giving us suggestions and solutions. And what we're trying to do is then go, right, okay, let's go to that customer who ordered a gift at this time last year of this particular product, and let's send them a reminder. If it was a birthday or if it was a certain occasion, let's remind them and let's incentivize them to bring that purchase ahead or forward or repeat. And that really has worked well in terms of allowing us to grow and retain those customers.
Nice. I've never heard anyone put it in quite the way that you guys do it. I love the fact that with your discounts, you do like a 10% online, 15% for like the really good guys, 20% for like the core VIPs. And in terms of an email execution, immediately, like we were talking about earlier, in terms of making marketing fun, making it exciting, making it entertaining, there's so much you can suddenly do with that. It's that as long as you've got the raw essentials at the bottom of it, the execution, then you can get really creative with. I imagine you guys can do everything for like, 10% off on site, but don't tell anyone we're giving you 20, or, an additional 10% just for you. And saying like, this is not available to, and put their name in the discount code and stuff like that. So it's like, I've literally got a discount code going like Nick 20 off or something. This, you can only use it once and it's only valid this week. But it's like, okay, well, if I was thinking of buying from you guys, like I'm straight back on the site now. Or I might just go, I loved that kit. And if it's 20% off, like, yeah, sign me up. Like, it sounds great. Go and do it.
I think the sky's the limit, Nick. I think the only real factor that limits you is time. Because you can spend, hours, endless hours on email marketing as you can on Facebook or PPC. And it's about the value and it's that cost benefit. But I think if you've got the time and the resource, email marketing is like liquid gold. And I've utilized it in my own business. But people who are listening to this that maybe are starting their business off, or they're looking for that next kind of like growth level, is you can use email marketing for a number of kind of like benefits. So you might get to the end of a sales quarter, you're like, right, okay, we need to push the numbers a bit more. Well, email marketing is the easiest and quickest way to do it and the least cost, without a doubt. Okay, because you've already got customers that you can either, milk and extract value from, maybe one more time, another time, get them from 2 to 3 to 4 orders. Or one of the factors that we've not mentioned so far that we've really focused in on again is average weight of purchase. Mm-hmm. So we've incentivized again on the emails to certain customer groups about increasing the basket spend. So maybe it's a certain discount for 2 kits rather than 1, so that we take them from 15 to 18 pound spend to maybe 25 to 30, because we're offering maybe 20% off if they spend more than 30 pounds. And so there are little tunes and games that you can play. And this is where the commerciality, if you like, and the commercial acumen of what you're trying to achieve is much easier to deliver in email marketing than any other format or platform. Because as you've just nailed it, you can be so specific to one individual customer, or you can be generic. And on the word generic, I would say that where we haven't had as much success in our email campaigns or strategies is when we've just been fly by the seat of our pants in the early days, and we've just done everything generic, the same message to everybody. And it's been heavily focused on promotional access, i.e. here's 50% off for everybody because it's Wednesday. And you might get a certain level of traction, but it's non-personalized, it's not topical, it's not creative, it's not thinking outside the box. And I think these are all the things that you've got to consider in email marketing to really maximize the return.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And final point I want to come on to, final thing with email, I think there's been some amazing stuff we've spoken about today, but final thing, we've both done it and we've both mentioned discounts constantly. What else can you put in an email that's not just a keep in touch, here's something going on? What else have you guys done over the years that doesn't involve discounts for any brands that just don't do discounts, not part of their DNA, but they still want to get people buying, get them engaging? What other stuff can they do with email to actually start driving that revenue?
Okay, so for us, there are 2 considerations. The first is, as I said before, my email campaigns are inextricably linked to my social channels. Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing a collaboration on Instagram and I'm doing a giveaway, I will then replicate that piece of activity on my email channel. So suddenly I've got content for 2, 3, 4 emails. And it might be it's targeted and it's adapted for certain consumer groups within my customer and prospect base. Mm-hmm. And I can repeat that multiple times across the year when I've got that activity doing. And that's an easy no-brainer. We should all be doing it because it works. The second part is that, and this is specific to me and my experiences, but what I say now, people can replicate, they can learn from, they may even be doing it to a certain degree themselves. What I've always said that we do for our customers is we educate, we inform, and we inspire. And those three, if you like, headings are specific to the needs of the prospects, to the existing customers, and it provides a platform for us to show and tell. So for the educational piece, we might tell customers how to use our products. So my marshmallow toast and dip kits include a reusable ethanol gel burner that can be used indoors and outdoors, and it can be relit multiple times. It'll last for 3.5 hours, and you just snuff it out by placing the lid on the top. But a lot of customers or prospects are really questionable about, oh, how's it work? Will I burn my hand? So what we do is we send out informative educational emails to, did you know our burner is X? Did you know our marshmallow toaster is natural? Did you know our marshmallow toaster is Y? And so that informs and educates, but it also helps to push them a little bit further along the consumer journey. In addition to that, we'll then do and inform, i.e., did you know our s'mores kits come in 3 sizes? Because one of the benefits of our brand that we created at the outset is we're focused on families, and not every family is a one-size-fits-all approach. So at the outset, and this is why I wanted to be a pioneer and an innovator, we created 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. So we tell customers when we engage at events or when we see them face-to-face, or specifically through our email campaigns, what each size serves. So a family of 2 to 3 is perfect for a small size versus a family of 5 to 6, which is our large kits, and how many times they can be used and how much the contents will last. And so you just tweak the messaging that allows you from a salesmanship perspective to push them further to that purchasing decision. And then the third element, which is the fun element, if you like, Nick, and this really comes from that social hook, because we've had this fantastic user-generated content, imagery and reels. We add that into our email campaigns, and it's about the inspiration. So it's the inspiring them of, what do our kits actually do? Where can you use them? What are the different usage occasions? And whereabouts can you go and enjoy them? And here's some evidence that's really striking, emotionally connecting, a bit like the video that's on our website that you've just referred to. And it really strikes a chord with them about, right, that's me at the weekend. That's what I want to do. And those 3 factors combined work really well for us. And that is obviously outside of the fourth element, which is then the promotional incentive. You know, let's not beat around the bush. The promotional incentives work really well, because customers ultimately, if they're interested and they're in the zone to buy, they want a discount, they want an incentive to make that decision, even if they're existing customers and have bought previously. So we can't discount that, but what we can do is put a mix of email messages together as part of a campaign, so that over that 4-week, 6-week, 8-week, 12-week period, customers and prospects are receiving examples of each and every one of those 4 different pillars.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what you're doing as well is you're breaking down any potential questions. Like you mentioned, you get to be the salesperson bit, selling the product and telling them about this stuff. There's got to be a reason why they haven't bought it. If it's price, you've just sent them a discount. If it's they don't know where to use it, you've just told them where to use it. If they don't understand how the product works, you've just told them how it works. So I think you're slowly breaking down these barriers, aren't you, until they buy. And I'm guessing they go into a completely different segmentation once they're a customer, or once they're currently classified as an engaged customer, where it's now about, well, we've got this, we've got that, do you want 2 products, 3 products, and trying to push those things, which is a really, really smart way of doing it. So, yeah, awesome.
I think so. But I think there's one other consideration as well, is that all customers are different. Yes. They're not just one typology. Certain customers will want to the nth degree every piece of detail, and they will go over your website and your product descriptors with microscopic lenses to get every fact and figure they need to make that decision. Whereas you'll have other people at the other spectrum who are impulsive. They'll see the emotional video, the reel, the concept, they'll get the brand straight away and go, yeah, bang, thank you, in the basket, and I've just bought 2. And you've got to cater for all of those different groups and understand at what point you're targeting each one and where are they on that journey.
Yeah. And I definitely think, I think we move, don't we? On certain things, I just buy something in terms of in the post and I think, I don't remember buying that. Or maybe I do actually, I forgot I bought that. Yeah. And then other times you're buying something else and you're like, it's only £20 or $20, but actually I've got some thinking to do. Like, I need to know if this is exactly right for me or not. So Amazing. Well, look, Jonnie, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute joy to chat. And although we're not on video today, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and to have you on the show. So thank you very much.
Well, look, thank you for the opportunity. You can't see me, and I'm sure the listeners can't see me, but I'm sticking up 2 thumbs to you, Nick.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jonnie. I'm giving you a wave back.
All right, thank you.
Lovely stuff. And for everyone listening, we're continuing this series on email, and we've got loads of different tangents we're going to go on around this. And as you've heard today, we're bringing it into customer engagement as much as anything else. So make sure you stay tuned. If you haven't already, give us a little 5-star rating on any of the podcasting platforms that you're listening to us on. If you haven't checked out our YouTube, check that out. If you haven't checked out our Instagram, I'm putting regular stories up. Although at the time of reading this, I would have just got back from holidays. So it's a good time to talk about this because I won't be posting much when I'm on holiday. It's not for holiday snaps, it's for Shopify tips. So make sure you check out our Instagram, Winning with Shopify. And yeah, if you haven't already, check out our newsletter as well. We're giving exclusive offers on our own emails at the moment from Seguno and various other partners. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, if you've been tuning in every week, we'll see you again next week. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can subscribe to our weekly newsletter for exclusive offers at winningwithshopify.com.